Well, this is a weird one. Now, at first glance, one might think that this episode, because it's so heavily focused on Beverly Crusher, that the there'd be no way to do this as a story that you would have actual players in because of the fact that it's just too heavily focused on a character that rightfully would be an NPC. Well, not entirely. See, while the A plot is Beverly Crusher's experiences getting trapped in the warp bubble and so on and so forth, the B plot is everyone else and trying to rescue Beverly Crusher from the warp bubble. Now, as negative space wedgie episodes go, this one was a very, very strange one because it's a negative space wedgie that only affects one person and creates an illusory reality that's based on that person's fear of being forgotten and is in many ways similar to the weird shadow dimension that the traveler took people to where their imaginations became reality. Except in this case, since it's only Beverly Crusher and she doesn't even know that she's not in real space, it's entirely based on her fear of being alone and forgotten. And thus, everything looks normal until pieces are missing. Because, yeah, she's actually able to talk to the computer and to have the computer respond to her normally, except it's not really there. Hmm. But yeah, it's like, so for this, doing this as a TTRPG, what I would do is the role of Beverly Crusher gets played by an NPC and the point of the episode would be to have the players rescue the NPC who is trapped in the negative space wedgie. Quite frankly, I don't like the warp bubble thing that they did. Now, using some sort of like warp field fluctuation or something as the explanation for where the negative space wedgie came from and how the person got stuck in the negative space wedgie, that actually works. The whole idea of it being a pocket dimension that someone created with uh, a warp bubble, that's dumb, in my opinion, anyways. But anyway, though, the focus of the episode being about Crusher and having the players rescue her, you would do it from the perspective of the crew trying to understand the negative space wedgie, which, again, totally doable. And really, that's the main thing with this episode, because like this episode has a lot of time of characters talking about their feelings, and it's the same length as a normal episode, but when you strip out the whole talking about your feelings part and just go with the action, there's actually not a whole lot about in there. Now, it is notable because the fact that due to the sheer quantity of talking about feelings, they talk about characters that aren't in the episode and characters that are um, very rarely seen, and they even have a guest character who's never talked about before or after, as far as I know. Okay, this guy's here to sit because he's retiring from Starfleet Medical, and he's here to seed the idea that Beverly Crusher is afraid of being forgotten in her old age. Let's see here. How many episodes here? Yeah, this just lists Remember Me. Yeah, looks like it's only one. Ah, yes. Tired old widower. Yep, good description of him. He's retiring from his career to live something, something, I don't know. Doesn't really say a whole lot what he's going to do after he retires. But it was someone who Beverly Crusher learned a lot from when she was a young officer, and someone who was very influential on her perception of how to be a good Starfleet officer. And I guess he has a rank of commander. It's hard to see because his rank pips at an odd angle. Hmm. Anyway, though, moving on. So, yeah, for this one, to make it work right, you would definitely need to set up several NPCs to have players interact with. Obviously, there's the one that gets trapped in the negative space wedgie, but if you're not doing a direct copy of this, you can actually have more than one person trapped in the negative space wedgie. Doesn't even need to be the ship's chief medical officer. Because, like, Hill and Selar, who is not seen in this episode, she was only ever seen in one episode because they recast Susie Plaxton to play Kalar, and after that, they never had Susie Plaxton actually act as Selar. Which is a shame because I actually like the Selar character. Quite popular in the novels, apparently. Like, seriously. Only seen in one episode, but people liked her. Anyways, moving on. Because that was actually a plot point, though, is that Beverly Crusher is like, oh, I need assistance with what is going on with me and things that are going very strangely, and I don't like it. And oh, right. I mean, I went to talk to Dr. Seelar about it because Seelar is one of the highest ranking medical officers on board the Enterprise. Because Seelar is basically the head person who does night shift in the medical bay. Crusher does day shift, Sealar does night shift or something. So while she's, one of the top ranking medical officers, she's not normally seen in the episodes because most of the time she's off duty. You would expect her if there's like an emergency to show up and help render medical assistance uh, as part of an emergency. So, like, oh no, there's battle damage. We need to treat these 10 crewmen and stuff. Yeah, you probably have her show up for that. But most of the episodes, no. Quite frankly, she could also be one of those people who you would see as like your background shots where there's like 20 people scrambling to do stuff in the background. Maybe she's one of them. Who knows? Anyways, moving on. Yeah, it's like because that's the interesting thing is that there's several people who aren't main cast who either get mentioned or done something with in this episode, and that's kind of interesting. This is one of those episodes though where it's as written, the negative space wedgie is caused by Wesley Crusher. Yes, that's right. This is one of the episodes where Wesley Crusher nearly kills someone, and in this case, it was his mother. So it's like this thing here is like data check Starfleet records. He reveals that no hint of the existence of a Dr. Delinquace whatsoever. This is the illusion world where Crusher is actually talking to Data, an illusory version of Data, and it's based solely on her own fears. Now, this is something that's interesting. He's like, meanwhile, in engineering, an eager Edison Wesley Crusher performs an experiment with the ship's warp engines, while Chief Engineer Jody LaForge impatiently demands that his engine be put back online. Dr. Crusher enters engineering and comes to see Wesley standing right before the warp core. Suddenly, due to Wesley's experiment failing, a short flash is emitted from the warp core. Wesley returns the engine to normal control, but when he looks up to talk to his mother, she is gone. Wesley thinks she simply just walked away. And that is how the negative space wedgie got applied. Why didn't they execute Wesley Crusher? Seriously. I really wonder about that some of the time. That's the kind of catastrophic incompetence and carelessness that, well, there's a reason why Geordie LaForge was demanding that Wesley Crusher stop what he was doing immediately. Quite frankly, why did anyone allow Wesley Crusher to have that level of access? Good question. Kind of sort of a teacher's pet scenario, honestly. Again, Wesley, this is by extension a Wesley Crusher special episode. Even though it's mostly centered on his mother, Wesley's the reason for the plot to happen. Now, this is one of those Wesley is special episodes where Wesley learns something about how special he is as a result of it because Wesley actually saves Beverly. Yeah, the crew has to help Wesley save Beverly from Wesley's incompetence and idiocy. Not personally a fan of that, and that's a large part of the reason why I would change the nature of the negative space wedgie. The whole idea of having someone get trapped in a negative space wedgie and the rest of the crew save them, this isn't the only time that's been done. It really hasn't. One of the TOS episodes with some sort of space shifting thing had Kirk, while on an EV mission, get shifted into a subspace layer, and the rest of the crew had to figure out how to pull him out of the subspace layer before his EV suit ran out of oxygen and then he died. You know, also a negative space wedgie episode where one person gets trapped alone and the rest of the cast has to save them. So, again, I wouldn't do the warp bubble thing. Maybe having someone get shunted into a parallel universe. That's been done several times too. Often the mirror universe, but not just the mirror universe. There's that parallels thing with Worf and like 50 or 60 other realities that uh, briefly get seen. Very, very briefly in most cases. But, you know, the idea of a character getting pushed outside normal space and the rest of them having to find them. Major plot point in several episodes. Something you could have a lot of fun with. I wouldn't actually use the specific negative space wedgie from this episode, though, just because it's a Wesley Crusher episode. And trying to explain those outside Wesley Crusher and the Traveler, no. Nope, 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 nope. Again, though, the idea of it being something related to someone experimenting with engine tech does actually kind of work. So in that regard, you could do something that's a near copy and just leave out Wesley Crusher. Anyway, though, also one thing that's kind of sort of glossed over in the episode is why is it that only Beverly Crusher got shifted into the Shadow Realm? Also, what Shadow Realm does she even get shifted to? Like I mentioned before, is that the way the world that Wesley shunted Beverly to behave was very much like the dream dimension sort of place that the traveler had taken the entire ship to in a previous episode, where people's imaginations had gotten to the point of nearly killing each other. Well, that's how the world Beverly was experiencing was acting, although it is stated that the warp bubble that was created is the entirety of the shadow dimension that Beverly got banished to. So, presumably, as the shadow dimension collapsed, eventually it would get to a point where it would just completely implode, and then everyone in it would be dead. So, it's not quite the same as getting banished to the dream realm from the other episode. This is a smaller subset version of that that's not the full thing, just a tiny microcosm version of it. Again, if you want to actually play it straight, fine. You don't have to though, because there's a whole bunch of things. Anyway, though, oh yeah, also because of the whole warp bubble collapse thing, time limit, hurry or fail, and then the person you're trying to save dies. Mm. But anyways, I think that's about enough of that. Interesting episode concept. Definitely something you could work with. I would not play this one straight. You definitely, at the very least, have someone other than Wesley Crusher be responsible for the problem of the week. Because quite frankly, it's not actually all that um, It's a little too predictable when you actually use an episode whole cloth. Anyone who's seen the episode is like, "Oh, we're doing that this time. Okay, sure." And they don't explore things. They just act out a role in a stage play almost, which can be fun, I suppose. I don't personally find it to be a great TTRPG session, but I mean, I've heard that there are people that like it. Anyways, that's enough rambling. See you guys later.